What's up YouTube, Dal here from Z4 Games, bringing you another episode of TCG exclusives that don't live up to their artwork. No, all jokes aside, I'm bringing you an update to Dream Mirrors. Now, Dream Mirrors were a TCG exclusive that never really got a lot of TCG exclusive support. I think they only got like one round, and then after that they were just drip-fed little cards from the OCG. Anyway, thanks to Blazing Vortex, we've got two brand new cards. One being the Yugioh, the Dream Mirror Disciple, plus we've got a trap card in the deck as well. But we also got a new boss monster, which does look very, very badass. And this is called Ornirus, the Dream Mirror Tormentor, and I really, really like it. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you do not miss out on any more content. We are doing the week of Blazing Vortex, which pretty much every day we will bring you an updated profile with combos where possible of Blazing Vortex decks. We've already done Metaphos, Armed Dragon chazzed up, and of course Security Force as well. We do have the Tackle or the Challenge to Tackle War Rocks on top of that, plus Wind Witches and some other nice little decks that came from Blazing Vortex. With all of that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into today's profile of updated Dream Mirrors. Now, I've kept this in line with my previous version, which is Dream Mirror Chaos. And by that, what I mean is it actually uses a very, very small Chaos engine just to kind of help utilize link climbs and give you other alternatives if you don't get a Dream Mirror on board. For those of you that don't know what Dream Mirrors do, where have you been? But we start off with triple Yugioh, the Dream Mirror Sprite, and we play double Yugioh, the Dream Mirror Mara. Now, for those of you that don't know what Dream Mirrors do, basically they all have a light and dark counterpart apart from the brand new card, which we'll get to a little bit later on. But the idea is that each of them can tag themselves out for their other counterpart. Now, obviously they need certain field spells in play. It is a field spell type deck. And if, for example, so with this one, which is the dark, if Dream Mirror of Joy, which is the light field spell, is in a field spell zone, you can tribute this card to special summon one Yugioh, the Dream Mirror Sprite, which is this one herself. Then, of course, what you can do is they all have their own effects. So with Sprite, if Terra is on the field in either player's field zone, you tribute herself to bring out Mara. Now, if either of these are special summons, Sprite will allow you to add one Dream Mirror card from your deck. Very important, it specifically says card. And Mara will allow you to special summon one Dream Mirror monster from your hand. So that's just if they're special summoned in general, but they then have to have the field spells in play at some point in order to tag themselves out. We've then got double Dream Mirror, basically Puppy, Dream Mirror Puppy, Fiend, and Dream Mirror Foe. So we're playing two of each of these. They're not the best versions of them. They're a little bit more of a grind game option because they do allow you to utilize your graveyard more. So the light one is if it is special summoned by the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, you can target one level 8 or lower Dream Mirror monster in your graveyard, accept itself, and special summon it. Then, of course, if the dark field spell is in a field zone on the field, you can tribute this card to special summon out Phantanos, the Dream Mirror Foe. Now, the Dream Mirror Foe, again, if it is special summoned by the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, this card can attack directly at a turn. It's a bit meh. And then during the main phase or battle phase, if Dream Mirror of Joy is in a field zone, you can tag this out to special summon Phantos, the Dream Mirror Friend. Is it Friend? Yeah, Friend. I keep calling it Fiend. Apologies. And then for the penultimate ones, we play the one Morpheus, the Dream Mirror Black Knight, and the one Morpheus, the Dream Mirror White Knight. Now, White Knight is more defensive, Dream Mirror Black Knight is more aggressive. Now, with White Knight, if it is special summoned by the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, you can activate this effect. This card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect this turn, so it basically just sits there as a 2800 wall. But the idea is that you're going to tribute out to bring out your Black Knight, and Black Knight is if it is special summoned by the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, you target one card on the field and you get to destroy it. So that's where your interaction comes. Then we've got the brand new one, the Yugioh, the Dream Mirror Disciple. Now, there isn't a dark counterpart to this, which is interesting. I'd like to see if we're going to get something like that in the future. But the idea behind this one is if a Dream Mirror monster or monsters is on the field, you can special summon this card from the hand. Then you can make this card become dark. And that's important to get to the ritual monsters, not ritual monsters, sorry, fusion monsters, because they need dream mirrors with different attributes. So this basically allows it to control the attribute that it is. If you've already got a dark, fine, you make it a light. You keep it a light. If you already have a light, you make it a dark. Its effect is a bit specific because it has to be done second, which is why we've only got one of it. You can bump it up to 2. I'm still playing with the ratios on this to kind of finalize it. If this card is special summoned by the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, activate the effect. Activate this effect. If Dream Mirror of Joy is on the field, you can return 1 spell or trap your opponent's controls to the hand. Also, after that, if Dream Mirror of Terror is on the field, you draw 1 card, then shuffle 1 card from your hand into the deck. Now, it's very, very difficult to actually get this out via a Dream Mirror monster's effect because obviously they're all going to tag themselves out. So the only way you're going to be able to special summon this via an additional effect. Now, I believe it counts itself. Yeah, so I mean, it can special summon itself via its own effect. So I believe that triggers its effect. But the only other way you're going to do that is by getting it with Mara, because Mara's the only one that can special summon one from hand. But to me, to do that from Mara, unless its own effect won't trigger, it would be very, very, counterproductive. Then we look at the Chaos Engine. The Chaos Engine is quite simple. You've got the 1 White Wyvern, the 1 Black Collapse Serpent, and then on this one, we've got the Chaos Daedalus. Now, the reason we've gone with Chaos Daedalus over Collector, and you can put Collector in there as well, is this is probably one of the only decks that Daedalus is insanely good in. So, must be first special summoned from your hand by banishing 1 light and 1 dark monster. While a field spell is face up on the field, so either player's field, your opponent cannot target light or dark monsters you control with card effects. You can target cards on the field up to the number of face up field spells on the field and banish them. Only use this effect once per turn. Now, obviously, the idea behind that is it gives protection to all of your monsters, including your fusions, because they are lights and darks. And then it has the ability, because the whole play of this deck is to give your opponent a field spell and have a field spell yourself, you're able to banish 2 cards, which is absolutely nuts every single turn. So you've got a protector and you've got an aggressor. So all in one card, which is why it's insane in this deck. Moving on to the spells, we've got triple Chaos Space. Now, obviously, the reason I've kind of gone with this is you could play Extravagance, but as Rob mentioned to me, it's very risky to kind of lose your fusions. Your fusions are your new boss monster and your old boss monster, and they really do get you going. So the other one is Pot of Prosperity, which, again, current pre-sale prices are like 100 quid a card. So unless you've got that, you're not going to be able to do it. So one engine that I kind of went for that gives you draw and extension is the Chaos Engine. Because what this allows you to do is it also allows you to put Dream Mirrors in the graveyard to set up your the dogs to bring them back as well. But it also allows you to get the draws, and it also lets you cycle back your dragons. And by doing that, what the dragons do provide to the deck is it does also provide you to end on a fusion monster, but also allows you to, it gives you the ability to set up your graveyard. You can Daedalus for protection, but it also has the ability to set up a link monster, because 9 out of 10, in order to give your opponent a field spell, you need to rely on the traps. So you're not really going to be able to get going at a high pace during your first turn. So that's where the Chaos Engine comes in and say, right, okay, well, while the Dream Mirrors needs its time to build up, I'm going to build up a board with an IP Masquerena or build up a board with like a Cross Sheep or anything like that. I'm then going to be able to set up the Fusion. The Fusion can then bring back, or Cross Sheep will then trigger to bring back one of the materials you've used for its Fusion summon, and then you're going to be able to go further forward from there. The one thing that Chaos Collector will have over the Daedalus is the fact that the Fusion spell actually allows you to banish from the graveyard if you need to. So Chaos Collector can bring back those materials. But you shouldn't be able to, like with Daedalus plus the Dream Mirror chains going off and the brand new trap card, which basically when they tribute themselves, they actually go back into the deck rather than the graveyard, can give you a bit more utility. We've then got triple Dream Mirror of Terror. So during the end phase, you can banish this card, activate 1 Dream Mirror of Joy from your hand or deck. You can only use this effect of Dream Mirror of Terror once per turn. Each time your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, inflict 300 damage to your opponent. This effect only applies while you control a dark Dream Mirror monster. So keep in mind, this will only burn when it's on your side of the field. And the reason you'd use its first effect is the idea is that you'd banish this, and then you banish a Joy to get back to a Terror. And then by getting back to the Terror, or of course get into the other version that you might need for your board, by banishing 2 of these, you then have a trap card that targets 2 of these, puts them back into your deck, and then lets you get rid of one of your opponent's cards. During the end phase, you can banish this card to activate 1 Terror directly from your deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. Once per turn, Dream Mirror monsters you control cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects or their monsters' attacks, except the Dream Mirror monster with the highest level. So that's where your Morpheus comes into play, because if it's the highest level of level 8 and it's sitting at 2800 defense, can't be destroyed by card effect, can't be targeted, and they can only attack it, it protects all of your little ones. the only reason I usually try to get Terror on my side of the field, because if I'm going for the deadliest play, I don't need to worry about the non-target protection. I've already got that. So Joy on the other side of the field is absolutely fine. Terror keeps going. And then you've got to make sure that the only time it becomes an issue is if the opponent gets rid of their field spell. You then need to find a way of... Which you can do, because your Terror can then tag out into the Joy if you need to. But you then need to find a way of triggering another trap card to give them a field spell back. We've then got triple Dream Mirror Phantasms. Again, love the card. Like the artwork. This is what I'm saying about the artwork on this deck. The artwork to me is some of the nicest artwork in the entire game. And it's one of those examples where the artwork doesn't match. I'm not saying that artwork should match the playability of a deck. But, I mean, sometimes when you look at cards and you're like, yeah, Virtual Worlds, they look okay. But then you look at Dream Mirrors and you're like, oh, these are all, like, look at the detail. Like, even on each of the Dream Mirrors, I want to try and bring it close to the camera. So, like, each of the Dream Mirrors has a mirror in the background that reflects the counterpart to it. And you've got all the detail in the background. It's just like, damn, cards like these, it's just pure art to play. And hopefully the focus will pick back up. We then play triple Dream Mirror of Chaos. This is the quick play fusion spell. There we go. So, fusion summon one Dream Mirror fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you control as fusion material. If Dream Mirror of Joy is in a field zone, you can also use monsters in your hand as fusion material. If Dream Mirror of Terror is in a field zone, you can also banish monsters from your graveyard as fusion material. So obviously the fusion monsters are even now more important because we do have the brand new guy, and he's going to be more of your aggressor, and he allows you to tag out into the other one as well. So this is the one you're going to go to first, which is why Chaos is so important. It's also why the new little sprite is important as well, purely because it gives you a free monster on the board. So if you don't have any of the mirrors on board, you can trigger this, gets you the effect you need. We've then got the one Reasoning. Now you play the ones that can actually be summoned. You've got levels 1s, 4s, 3s now with the new guy, and 8s. So Reasoning is a nice little extender. It's not going to trigger the Dream Mirror's effect because it's not being summoned by a Dream Mirror monster's effect. But what it does do is it does get that chain started for you. It also gives you another ability to get another Dream Mirror on the board that can then be used as fusion material. We'll then move into the traps. We've got triple Dream Mirror Hypernagoria. So this one is you choose one Dream Mirror of Joy and one Dream Mirror of Terror from your hand and or deck and place one in your field zone and one in your opponent's field zone. So this is why this is so important is, you know, ideally with the sprite you want to get to this, you then activate this and give your opponent the field spells, and that's the idea of the deck. We've then got two of the brand new card, Dream Mirror Recap. Now, one is enough, but you need to get to it, which is why we play two. And if your opponent gets rid of the first one, you kind of want to get to the second one as well. But this is a brand new card that if a Dream Mirror monster you control would be tributed to activate its own effect, shuffle it into the deck instead of sending it to the graveyard. During the main phase, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard, place one of your Dream Mirror of Joy or Dream Mirror of Terror that is banished or in the graveyard face-up in your field zone. You can special summon one monster from your hand that specifically lists that card you placed in its text. So the second effect is good. It's not going to come out as consistently as much because obviously you want to control your opponent's field zone more. But what it can do is the whole idea behind it is that previously you would tribute a Dream Mirror, it would go to the graveyard, your opponent would ash, stop it completely, and you'd just be like, cool, pass. Whereas now you can tribute it, it goes back into your deck so you don't lose that ability to be summoning them out later on. And then obviously the one from deck just doesn't hit the board, which is a bit of a shame, but it kind of gives you a bit of a recap as you go. For the final Dream Mirror traps, we've got the one Mancy and the one Fancy. So the counter trap, activate one of these effects. When your opponent activates a spell or trap card while Joy is in a field zone, negate the activation if you do destroy it. When your opponent would special summon a monster or monsters while Terror is in a field zone, negate the summon if you do destroy that monster or monsters. Fantasy, if you control a Dream Mirror monster, target one each of your banished Dream Mirror of Joy and Dream Mirror of Terror, shuffle them into the deck, and if you do, banish one card on the field. If a Dream Mirror card or cards you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard instead. Now, one-on-one works quite nicely, and the whole idea behind this, and the way you need to get it, if you would go first, is you would have to go, okay, activate Joy, banish Joy, bring out Terror. Activating Terror, banish Terror, put Joy back in the field zone. Now straight away you've already gone through two of your Joys, that when you try to activate your Hypergagoria, you're going to want to be putting a Joy or a Terror in the zone. So that gets rid of all your field spells already. So the consistency to make this is a bit annoying, but it does deck thin you, which is great as well. And then this puts them back in so they can be used again. But there's a lot of components with this deck that make it more complicated than it needs to be, but it's still an incredibly fun and powerful deck, and I love it. The last 3 zones are any hand trap. Now, again, this is something that Rob was mentioning, that the deck, it wants to be played pure. It wants your full 40 cards, or at least 37 cards in the deck to be Dream Mirror cards. Like, you can also put in 1-for-1 as well, just to kind of get you to the sprite that you need. But the biggest issue with that is you need to go first. You need to set up your traps. You've got no ability of going second, or you've got very few abilities of going second. Whereas by putting in something like Imperm or Droplet, you have the ability to go second with that additional card to turn off your opponent's monsters. Now, the worst thing you want to be doing is you don't want to be stuck on vanities and not be able to play the game. It's definitely a fun deck. Again, it's not a meta crunching deck, but it's certainly like one of the most beautiful decks to play. And once it gets going, it is incredibly fun and powerful to play. We've then got 2 of the brand new Orpheus Torment. So it requires 2 dream monsters with different attributes. While this face-up card on the field, you can this card is also a light attribute. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. When a monster effect is activated while Dream Mirror of Terror is in a field zone, quick effect, you can negate that effect. Nice. If Dream Mirror of Joy is in a field zone, quick effect, you can tribute this card, special summon 1 Orpheus the monster Erklin from the extra deck in defense position. So, you negate an effect, you tribute this. If you've got the trap card, it goes back into the extra deck. If not, it goes to the grave. And then what that does is that brings out this guy. Now, what this guy can do, again, it requires 2 Dream Mirror monsters with different attributes. While face up on the field, this card is also a dark attribute. You can only use this card's following effect once per turn. If another monster you control is tributed, except during the damage step, you can just target 1 card on the field and destroy it. If this card is in its owner's possession, is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 Dream Mirror monster from your graveyard except himself. That's a Dream Mirror. So the idea is make this guy, negate, tribute, bring this guy out. If you tribute another Dream Mirror monster, this guy will pop a card. If they declare to get rid of this card, fine, you bring this card straight back. And then this card can then redo the exact same cycle and off you go. Obviously, the only downside is, again, is if the trap is in play and this goes back into the deck, then you're in a little bit of trouble. Now, I just need to check the trap very, very quickly. Is it a you can or a... Again, these are all really new card. No, so it has to go into... If you have that trap card in play, it has to go back to the extra deck or the main deck. We then play a very small XYZ engine purely because of the back of the Chaos engine. You can make rank 4s quite consistently because you've got the dogs and you've got the dragons. So we've gone with Abyss Dweller, Tornado Dragon, and then Zeus as another alternative win con, because obviously you can just attack with this, and then put a Zeus on top. So gives you utilities, but also gives you an additional boss monster and a way to play should you need to. For the Link monsters, we've got the 1 Relinquish Anima. You can play Link Kuriboh if you want, but one little thing that I really like about Relinquish Anima is if you side in Kaijus, so like Raiden, the interdimensional Kaiju, you Kaiju your opponent, put it there in front, and then you make Anima, and Anima just takes the Kaiju. It's, you know, it's kind of a free removal without giving them anything. You've then got your IP Masquerena, which leads into, of course, the Nightmare package of Cerberus, Phoenix, and Unicorn. Stop me if you've seen this one before. We then also play the 1 Cross Sheep, because again, the idea behind the Chaos Engine is if the Chaos Engine can get you into Cross Sheep, and then you have the ability to make the fusion can then bring back, or by bringing out the fusion to a Cross Sheep zone, that will then allow you to bring back one of the materials you've used to make the fusion. So by doing so, that gets either a Morpheus out of your hand into the grave back to the field that can then use its effect to trigger during your opponent's turn, or still maintaining your normal summon as well, unless you've not had any of the field spells and then you need to control the Dream Mirrors, still being able to bring one of them back so you're not losing the ability of all of their effects. And then as long as you get the field spells onto the board, you've got the ability to start popping cards and interrupting even more. We've then got the 1 Blackluster Soldier of Chaos, because you've got your Morpheus and then you've got any of your fusions. So it's very specific to make this, but once you do, it's there for a reason. It's there to be a wall, it's there to increase his attack, and if your opponent can't get rid of it, you're pretty much going to win the duel from there. And then finally, you've got your Access Code Talker, because any deck that can utilize board presence and can utilize the Nightmare package, straight away, if they use the Nightmare package to climb up, you're going to end up with a Fire and a Dark, or an Earth and a Dark in the grave, giving Access Code an additional 3k. Now, obviously, if you don't have access code, do not worry. That's where you can bump up the fusion. You go more fusion orientated. Literally, the Chaos engine is what instigates the additional engines in this deck, which is what makes it, in my opinion, a little bit more competitive and a little bit more consistent to face certain decks in the current meta, and even playing with fun with your friends. Unless you're saying to your friends, right, no one plays any hand traps. If that's the case, play this as a pure deck. You'll be absolutely fine and you'll have a lot of fun. But for now, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it's given you a couple of ideas on your own Dream Mirror build. If you're as much of a fan of Dream Mirrors as I am, then let me know in the comments below. Absolutely love the artwork. I love the way the artworks kind of contradict each other but work so well together. It's beautiful. And the new artwork on this, I really want to see this in American, because the one thing that the American prints have over the English prints is the English prints are a lot darker on the ink. So you lose a lot of details, and you can just see now as I'm hitting the light, you can see the gold around the wings and how dark the rings are. And you've got this little like purple orb there. In American, the colours are a lot more vibrant, so it would be nice to see what this looks like. So if anyone does have an American copy, please send me an image on our Instagram or Facebook of how this looks. It'd be so cool. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and as absolutely always, guys, stay safe and happy dueling.